Welcome to the Carlisle Community Forum. My name is Jerry Lerman, and I'll be the host for this December edition. We have an interesting program today. Before getting to our featured speaker, I'd like to introduce all the people on our panel. Starting from the left, we have Jean Benyaski. Did I say it right?
That's perfect.
Who is the chairman of the Friends of the Carlisle Council on Aging. Next to her is Angela Smith, who is the Outreach and Program Manager for the COA. Next is David Klein, who is the Director of the COA. And to his right is David Flannery, who is Chief of the Carlisle Fire Department, and he'll be our featured speaker today. So before getting to Chief Flannery, we'll start with David Klein.
Thanks very much, Jerry. Just a couple quick announcements. One, that the Board of Health asked us to read. It's about our new public health nurse, which is funded through a CHNA 15 grant that we received. CHNA 15 is a community health organization throughout the state, and there's various CHNAs. Ours is funded through Leahy Clinic and I think Winchester Hospital. In any case, we received a CHNA grant. People might have heard this through the mosquito or other sources. And we're working on 3 different projects. One is this involving this public health nurse I'm going to mention, and the other is transportation, and the third is a community center feasibility study effort. So anyway, the public health nurse, her name is Tricia McGeen. She's a registered nurse from Emerson Hospital Home Care, and residents of all ages, not just seniors, but of all ages, are welcome to come to our Ask a Nurse sessions, which will be held on the 3rd Monday of each month from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Town Hall. So this is the Ask a Nurse program from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on the 3rd Monday of each month. And the next session will be held at Benfield Farms on January 28th. Upcoming dates will be adjusted to accommodate holidays. Check the mosquito. So sometimes they'll be at Town Hall and sometimes they'll be at other places?
Usually at Town Hall, but occasionally they'll move it to Benfield.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
And at Town Hall, it would be in the Clark Room?
Nichols.
In Nichols.
It'll be upstairs. We want a little bit of privacy for those,
Okay.
for those meetings.
So Nichols Room at Town Hall.
Right, exactly. Except that the next session will be at Benfield. And Benfield, for those of you who aren't aware, there's a room that can be used at Benfield Farms where there is privacy. It's where we hold our podiatry clinics and other spots. It's on the 2nd floor.
Right.
One other thing that I wanted to mention, and it also fits in with the CHNA grant, is the transportation project that we're working on. And for people who may not have heard, it is just coming out in our Carlisle Connection newsletter for January, February, is that we're introducing an alternate transportation program for those with transportation challenges who will be using the CHNA grant or a portion of the CHNA grant to fund Uber or Lyft rides. At this point, it looks like it's going to be Lyft, not Uber, but at some point it could be both Lyft and Uber. We're just working out the service agreements with the firm. So it looks like we'll be starting off with Lyft, and the committee or advisory group that's working on the transportation project agreed to provide $10 subsidies towards the Uber and Lyft rides, or Lyft and Uber rides. And so that's $10 subsidies per ride, per one-way ride, and that would be up to 4 times per month.
Per person.
Per person, right. But if you're a couple, then you have 2. If you're a senior, for example, and you're not driving as much, or you're not driving at all, then that could be pretty helpful. If you're not a senior and you have a transportation challenge because of a disability, or even because of a one-off situation, you fall and you break your leg,
Have knee replacement
or eye surgery. It does so no matter your age, as long as you're over age 18, then you can qualify for this as well. So we're trying to be as inclusive as possible, and yet, get it out to the people who really need it at the same time. And so this will be a pilot program with Uber Lyft. From what we understand from projects that have gone on through the MBTA's RIDE program and in a couple other places around the state, they've been extremely, the pilots have been extremely effective. And, you know, for people who haven't used Uber or Lyft, we'll work with you and explain how that works. And we'll go from there. But basically, what people may want to know is that in 2017, over 2,500 rides originated, Uber and Lyft rides originated from Carlisle. So it's already happening. It's just a matter of people who aren't really familiar with how to use it getting familiar. And these rides are somewhat like taxis with a little bit of a discount from a taxi ride. But usually the rides are available within about 10 minutes. So anyway, I want to leave it at that, Jerry. But,
And this will be starting as of when?
well, we're working on the service agreement right now. In a perfect world, we'd be starting as of January 1st, but I'm not sure if we'll be starting exactly on January 1st, but we'll be starting soon.
Okay. Look for it soon.
Yeah, we'll get the information out in the Mosquito, I'm sure. So, thank you, Jerry.
Angela?
I think we can go right to Chief Flannery.
Do we want to do Jean first?
Oh, we could do that.
Fine. As you know, the Friends is the fundraising arm of the Carlisle Council on Aging. And every year we start our annual appeal. This year it was November. Our flyer went out to our postal patrons, and we are hoping that if you haven't sent yet a donation, that you might do so. And our address is the same, Friends of the Carlisle Council on Aging, or FOCCOA, Box 38 in Carlisle. We're really grateful for your support and generosity in the past, and hope that you will be as generous as you have been over the years. So please make sure that you realize that your donations go for so many things. I'll just list a few of them. Fuel assistance for seniors in need, food certificates for qualified seniors, podiatry and blood pressure clinics, exercise programs, underwriting medical equipment, large print books for the library, transportation, so many things, but I want to mention specifically the cultural and health lecture series that will be starting in the new year. The first is Art Matters brings back Jane Blair, who's a dynamic presenter, and she'll be talking on 3 different occasions. The first, March 13th, on Impressionism, March 20th, Post-Impressionism, and on March 27th, Alexander Calder. These are co-sponsored with the Gleason Library, and registration starts on January 14th, so that's just around the corner. That's a very popular series, very well attended, so keep it in mind as you're looking at your January calendar. There'll also be a health series in April, the first being on April 5th with Dr. Dolinsky, Thinking Positively and Living Longer and Healthier. That should be something that interests everybody. And on April 17th, Dr. Howard will be talking about orthopedics. So basically, there is a lot to get us through the winter with nice talks at the Gleason Library. There are refreshments. And again, just a reminder that on your contributions, if you're sending checks, that's great, but you may also pay via PayPal to the Friends for a quick and easy way to donate. So thank you again for your generosity, and hopefully we'll be able to keep up our support for the Council on Aging's programs.
Thank you, Jean. And now we'll move to our hot topic for the day. Chief Flannery will be talking to us about home safety, fall, and fire prevention. For those who may not know, and I doubt that there are many, David Flannery has been chief of the Carlisle Fire Department for many years and will be retiring at the end of this year. The fire department is also responsible for the ambulance service in Carlisle. So the fire department knows a lot about fire prevention and safety. So with that, I'll turn it over to David.
Thank you, Jerry. It's always a pleasure to be here to present information and support the work of the COA in supporting our seniors. The program that I'm presenting this morning, I have talked about before. I've been here over the years talking about how to prevent falls in your home, and also about fire safety for seniors in their home. And the National Fire Protection Association has an excellent slide program and a program that we use to present the information to our seniors. And it's something that is very important. Many times when we get older in our homes, we don't really think about as our abilities decline a little bit, we don't think about what are the things we need to pay attention to keep ourselves safe. So I'm going to go through some of those. For some of them, it may be, for some people, it may be something that they're already very much aware of, and for others, they maybe not have thought of it. So today, as your fire chief, I'd like to get people to think about fire safety in their home and also preventing falls in their home. And the last comment I'll make before we begin the slides is that we do see a significant number of our seniors through our emergency calls, through 911. Some do fall, many do fall, and it's not always a case where you need to go to the hospital. It might be a case where you haven't injured yourself, you need assistance, and you need someone to check you out, and that's what we're here for. So our EMTs are very well qualified to come to your home if you have an emergency and you're not sure and you need assistance to come and figure that out for you. But just because you call the ambulance doesn't necessarily mean you'll be going to the hospital. So please don't let that prevent you from calling for assistance. That's number one. And number two is that if you have any questions about any of the information that I present today, there'll be a phone number you can call. You can reach out to Angela and get additional information on a checklist of safety. So the first topic is about smoking, and hopefully not that many people smoke today, but if there are people in your home that smoke, we want to make sure that they use sturdy ashtrays, and that any sort of a cigarette is wet before the ashes are thrown out, and we ask that you never, ever, ever smoke in bed. That's a major cause of fires in homes. And that you never smoke if you have medical oxygen. There's a danger there because the oxygen in the room that you're using creates an environment that isn't an explosive environment, but it's an environment where fire can travel and start very quickly. So what do you already know about safe places to smoke in your home?
Other than not smoking at all.
Other than not smoking at all. Outside would be a good place, or a place where you have the ability to have put smoking materials out. The next topic is space heaters, which many homes use electric space heaters for supplemental heating. You would always make sure that the equipment that you buy in the store is UL approved for safety. But the most important message I can give you today is that the heaters need to be at least 3 feet from anything that can burn, including yourself. And always shut off or unplug the heaters when you leave the home. Don't leave them running, or before you go to bed. And here are some questions that were given. What are some of the items that might be left too close to a space heater? And what are some of the ways that you already keep those items away from the heater? What else might you do? Simple things like putting your coat or your jacket down next to a chair that has a heater within 3 feet. Leaving papers, having papers fall onto a heater from a bookshelf or from a counter. These are the types of things that you might be looking for if you have a space heater.
Are there issues with pets?
Yes, pets can often create problems, and one of the things that can happen is they can trip on the cord, pull the heater over, and any heater you buy today that's approved has to have a tip-over safety switch. So that's something you should make sure is working. And you can test that by easily tipping the heater to see if it shuts off, and then tipping it back. But pets can bring things around the heater, and also, interfere with its operation. Next topic is staying in the kitchen when you're frying food, and we ask that you never leave the home when you have food cooking on the stove. Wearing short form-fitting sleeves when cooking is important because you don't want to catch your clothing on fire. Be sure you have oven mitts to handle hot pans. And if a pan of food catches fire, have a cookie sheet or a pizza pan or something to put on top of it, or a lid over it, rather than trying to put it out with something, water or something like that. You want to smother it first. And don't cook if you're drowsy or taking alcohol or taking medication. Many times you can be forgetful and leave something on the stove and fall asleep, and that'll definitely cause your smoke alarm to go off and hopefully wake you up and perhaps call us to help you out. That's happened a few times to people. So just wearing short clothing, paying attention to staying in the room, and the worst thing that can happen if you don't cook safely is you can have a kitchen fire. And that's when you need to call 911. Don't try to manage that by yourself.
Is it safe to leave things cooking in the oven?
It's safe to leave things cooking in the oven as long as the oven has a timing device that would shut it off at the appropriate time. That's perfectly safe. So if your clothes catch fire, one of the things that you can do to save yourself from being engulfed in flames is to stop what you're doing, drop to the floor. We teach the school children this method, and roll over back and forth, which essentially smothers the fire. And if you have a burn, use cooled water on the burn for several minutes to cool your tissue down that might have gotten hot, and certainly get medical help right away. And again, don't be afraid to call 911. Seniors are particularly vulnerable to what we would think as a small burn could be a real serious problem for a senior just because of the age and so forth and your conditions. That's about stop, drop, and roll. So smoke alarms do save lives. We know that. You see it on the news every day. And tragically, in many cases, smoke alarms were present in the home, but the batteries were out or they weren't working. No one tested them. So what we say is that, you should have smoke alarms in every level of your home, and that they should be particularly positioned outside your bedroom where you sleep, because remember, when you're sleeping, your nose is asleep, and you're not aware of something going on in your house with a fire. The alarms in newer homes are interconnected, so when one sounds, all of them sound. If there's a fire in the basement and the alarm is activated, your bedroom upstairs would be activated. And have someone test your smoke alarms once a month if you can do that. Sometimes it might be a simple thing as just having a broomstick with a little pin at the end that you can hit the smoke detector and test it. But we only know that we're safe if we know that our smoke detectors are working. So what strategy can you use to make sure? You can put it on your calendar, you can put a reminder in your phone. Some people think about a holiday, a particular holiday is testing their fire alarm system and their smoke detectors. If you have grandchildren come over, you might have a little fire drill with them. That would be a lot of fun, and get them to help you. Those are just some tips.
I check mine when the time changes.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea when the time changes. So something else we ask you to think about, if there were a fire in your home, do you know what route you would go if you were in your bedroom and there was smoke outside your bedroom door? What would be two ways out of your home? It might be a window, a back door, a porch door. And do you know that your windows will open easily? Do you know that that door that you don't go out all the time will open easily when you need it? And if the alarm sounds, you always should go outside when there's a fire and stay outside and call the fire department from outside or from a neighbor from your cell phone. So what's your current home escape plan, and what have you heard about these plans and what they are good for? And of course, it's all for your safety and knowing how to get out. The other tip that I'll give you is that if you ever have to go through smoke to get outside, we know that the cleanest air to breathe is always low on the floor. So if you can, physically crawl, stay low to the floor where the freshest air is, and that way you'll be able to breathe and exit. Many times people try to exit through smoke and they get overcome by smoke. So we teach children in school when they escape, if they have to go through smoke, to crawl on the floor.
Does covering your mouth with a handkerchief
It
do any
may
good?
help a little bit if there's particles in the air, but covering your mouth with a cloth or a mask definitely would help filter some of the toxic smoke. And know your local emergency number, which in Carlisle is 911 for an emergency. That's both for a fire emergency, an ambulance, or if you need the police department. 911 is the number. And what will happen when you dial 911 is a standard response for the call taker, which is our dispatcher, will be 911, what is your emergency? That's what they're going to ask you. And you're going to say, I have a fire. Now, in Carlisle and all across the state, the 911 system has the ability to transmit both your phone number and your street location to the dispatcher. So if you hang up before they get your address, they're going to be sending us to your address, and they may not have all the details. But if you have to hang up, they will know where the call originated from.
Does that work for cell phones too?
It does now work for cell phones. Carlisle is one of the communities that is fortunate to have the latest technology in E911, which actually shows the dispatcher on a screen, on a map, the exact location within a few feet of the call origin on a mobile
Excellent.
phone. Why is it important to escape first and then call for help? Because the most important thing is to keep you safe, and in a fire situation, seconds count. Seconds really count for your safety and for your security in getting out. The last message we have around fire in your home is to have a telephone in your bedroom, either a cell phone, it might be a cordless phone, it might be a wired phone. In case you're trapped in your bedroom, you can call from that location, and have other necessary items near you like glasses, a flashlight, your walker, all of those things nearby in case there's an emergency, particularly if the power goes out and your smoke alarms go off and you can't see, and you know you'll have those things readily handy for you so you can escape safely. So I'd ask, what are some of the things that you would want nearby your bed, in your bedroom, in the event of a fire? So we reviewed don't smoke. Some of the items you should keep beside your bed are things you should think about. You might share a tip to help folks if they need to leave the stove while cooking and talking to your friends and your family. And preventable, this is the next topic. We're actually into the next topic. So preventable injuries for older adults in falls. And as I said, we have a significant amount of seniors that fall each year. Some hurt themselves very seriously, and others are injured and recuperate quickly, and others fall and they just need assistance in getting up. So it's the most common cause of non-fatal injuries and hospital admissions for trauma. In 2010, this is old data, however, it has increased considerably since then. There are millions of older Americans and older adults in the United States that are treated in emergency departments, and it's well over 1 million in the United States people are hospitalized for falls each year. And a fall tends to increase in older adults' fear of falling. We see that quite a bit, and the fear leads to a decrease in activity, which is unfortunate, because if you decrease your activity and lose your mobility ability, that sort of is a vicious cycle of getting you back into a fall risk. This leads to reduced mobility and fitness, which in turn increases the risk of falling. So that's a pitch for taking part in the COA exercise programs, because to keep yourself safe and healthy, you do have to exercise. I mean, all the literature and experts say that today. So here it is telling us that if we have that fear of falling, that we've got to really face that and continue with our exercise. And the exercise should be regular. It builds strength and improves your coordination and balance. And balance is so important to people as they age in their home with the conditions and the challenges that they may have in their home. Tai Chi is an exercise that has been proven to help reduce fall risk. And I think Angela has had that program here many times.
Tuesdays at 12:30 at St. Irene's.
Tuesday at 12:30 at St. Irene, so sign up for it. And you should ask your doctor what is the best physical exercise for you. We always want to make sure that you're having medical advice that is tailored to you. And what are some of the things you've heard about exercise and what it does for older adults? Well, just come to the Tai Chi on Tuesdays? Tuesdays down at St. Irene's, and you'll find out what people say about it. Okay, so something that, I've certainly learned as I'm getting older is you do need to take time to get out of your chair slowly and not do it too quickly, and sit for a moment before you get out of your bed. You may need to, your blood pressure may need to adjust, you may need to get your orientation, and stand and get your balance before you begin to walk. Those are common things that happen that people don't pay attention to and get into a fall. And be aware of your surroundings. Look at the floor before you move your feet. And someone may, or an animal may have put something in front of you, your pet, and that's a real risk for you. What's the strangest things ever tipped over in your home? If you haven't tripped, what have you heard about tripping? Tripping for seniors is very serious in that seniors tend to fall sometimes without putting their hand out, and they strike their head. And a head trauma can be very serious for seniors, so we really want you to be sure to pay attention to taking your time. Keep walking areas and stairs clear. We do see this in homes where people are not careful with electric cords and things they run across the floor, with leaving shoes and clothing around, with books and magazines and other clutter. This really is a very serious problem. Sometimes as we age, we kind of get, careless and maybe lazy about putting things away and not being careful, and this is when we get into trouble. So what do you do to keep the stairs clean, and who can you get to help with this? Those are some things you should be thinking about. Message number 4 is lighting. Improve lighting around your home. So night lights are great, particularly in the bathroom and between the path between the bedroom and bathroom. Turn the lights on before using the stairs, and always see an eye specialist once a year. That's very important for your vision. I will say that one of the things that I discovered, which is helpful about lighting, is they have these great remote lamp and appliance transmitters. So you can plug in a lamp across your bedroom and plug the device into it, and you can have this little remote like your garage door opener, and you can turn that on and off, which is really great. You can put those anywhere you want in your home. The only downside is you have to change the battery every once in a while, but it gives you the ability, if you want to get out of bed and you want to turn the lights on, the light switches across there and you don't have a bed lamp, to just switch it on. Or vice versa, if you want to shut the lamp off at night and not get out of bed, that's another way you can do it. So those are available in the hardware stores in the lighting department. Some may use motion sensors, and you can also put those for night lights. They do make them with a motion sensor, so if you're going into a corridor area of your home, it will come on and then go off. So that's a great tip. Non-slip mats in the bathtub or shower. We do see this occasionally where people get themselves in trouble in the bathroom, and it's because of slippery floors, and have grab bars installed on the wall in the tub and shower next to the toilet. And I will mention one thing about having grab bars installed. Please make sure they're installed correctly if you're doing it yourself, and it's always best to have a professional do it, because you're relying on the security of that bar for your life, really. If you're going to fall and you're grabbing on, it has to be secure. We have to make sure that the mounting of the bar is into the structure of the home, not in just to the wallboard where it's going to pull out. We've seen this twice in this community where people have installed their own bars, and unfortunately they've had accidents where they've been injured. So I would suggest that you either have it professionally installed or make sure that you have someone, a family member perhaps, do it and follow the instructions by the manufacturer, because that has been a problem. Be sure to wipe up any spills immediately. Don't say, oh, I'll go back to that, because you may forget, and then you're the victim next by slipping. What kind of things have you already done to improve the safety in your bathroom? There are many, many things you can do, and I do know that if you don't know how you can improve safety in your bathroom, I'm sure if you called Angela at the Council on Aging, she can give you some referrals, and there are probably even people that will come and make an evaluation of your home for your safety. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for assistance. Be aware of uneven surfaces around the home. Throw rugs, big problem with non-skid backing. Smooth out wrinkles and folds in carpeting, that's a trip hazard. Be aware of uneven sidewalks and pavement outdoors. If you have that situation outdoors, see if you can get it corrected. Have some kind of marker for people who come and visit you so they know that there's an uneven spot or a spot that is a trip hazard. And always ask a friend to clear ice and snow from the stairs and walkways. If you have a mobility problem, you shouldn't really be out shoveling, and you shouldn't certainly be on ice and snow that you have a higher risk of falling, so ask for assistance. What have you heard about making flooring safer at home? We know we have to identify those trip hazards at home and address them. Stairways should be well lit, and we go into many homes where stairways are not well lit, and it really, as you get older, to be with your vision declining a little bit, it is so important to be able to see where you are stepping, and if you can't see that next step very well, then you may be in trouble for a major fall. Have easy grip handles installed along the full length of both sides of the stairs. And I did get that question one time. Do you really mean both sides? Yes. Both sides make a huge difference for anyone who has a mobility issue or is unsure of their stepping. To be able to have that grip on both sides, it is definitely worth. If you have to traverse your stairs each day or 2 or 3 times a day. I remember my grandmother lived in Fitchburg, and she went up to her bedroom into her 80s. Every night she would go up, and she had railings on both sides, and she did very well. She never fell on the stairs, and she always did very well. Put railings and lighting. Sturdy, well-fitting shoes. I guess as I get older, I also think about what it takes to make sure that your feet are in good condition, that you see a podiatrist regularly, and that if you have any issues with your feet, that you have those addressed by a podiatrist. Council on Aging sponsors podiatrists at least once?
Every other month.
Every other month. If you don't have a podiatrist, get some advice. And secondly, more importantly too, is the type of shoes that you wear, the sole, and how they support your feet are very, very important. That's something a podiatrist can help you with, so do pay attention to your feet. What's the worst thing that could happen if you don't wear safe footwear? You could slip and fall. That's the worst thing. Okay, so let's review a few things. Name one change you can make in your own home to reduce your risk of falling. So that's your homework. Why does regular exercise reduce one's risk of being injured in a fall? That's really important. And why is our fall prevention program targeted at folks age 65 and over? It's because of certainly our decline in physical abilities, both your vision and your feet and your physical abilities, your strength and so forth diminishes as you get older. That's why it's important to commit to an exercise program. That's our program, and I hope that everyone has gotten a few tips that they can take into their own home and improve their safety both for fires and for falls.
Thank you for an excellent presentation. Are there any questions from the panel?
I have one. David, is it recommended that people who use space heaters really look at the age of the space heater and the condition that it's in?
Yes, electric space heaters do, usually between the 5 and 10 year period, depending how much you use it. If you're using it, and space heaters are designed for specifically that. They're not designed for heating a home. It's supplemental. Mm-hmm. So if you have a small office that you have in your basement and you don't have heat down there, and you are down there for 2 or 3 hours, it's made to heat that space while you're there, not to leave it going, for 12 or 15 hours. They're designed that way. They can be supplemental in the home in cold weather, but again, the more you run it, the cord, the elements over time they will become not as functional, and there is a risk of a fire with an older heater. So I would say that any electric heat type heater that's over 10 years old probably needs to be replaced.
I think that's an important piece of the
Thanks for asking
heater.
that question.
The other question I had to do with kitchen fire extinguishers.
Sure.
So, in your experience, like I'm a real klutz with operating things, and it's like I don't know that I have actually practiced using one. So, after, do you think first of all that every kitchen should have one, and then in prepping for an emergency, would you recommend a video or a way to look and make sure you know how to operate it?
So, two things about fire extinguishers in the home. They're excellent tools because big fires start small. You may be able to manage a small fire. Always call the fire department. If you get the fire out, call us. I would recommend a fire extinguisher for each home. Now, the question is, where do I put it? Fire extinguishers, if you look around the municipal buildings or town buildings, are always near an exit and not necessarily in the room where it might be needed, because the fire may be so large, it may fly up that you may not be able to get at it. So we position fire extinguishers near an exit door. So your back door or your back kitchen door, because if it is too big for you to handle, and I would say no bigger than, tabletop, like a wastebasket size, then I would exit the home and leave it and not try to fight it. But a fire extinguisher on a small fire, as you exit the home, you grab it, go back, and they can be very effective. I would recommend YouTube, Kitty, or Kitty, you might say. Some of the major manufacturers, First Alert, have excellent videos on using home fire extinguishers. You could just Google it, and if anybody has any questions and they need follow-up, just call my office at the fire station, and the fire prevention inspector would be happy to go over that or make recommendations, but it was definitely something I would recommend.
I have one last question. We have a wood-burning stove, and we have our chimney inspected on a regular basis. Is that something that people should be reminded
We
to do?
always recommend fuel-burning equipment, which a wood stove would be the same, or a pellet stove, or a furnace, or a fireplace. So those are all fuel-burning appliances or installations that they should be checked once a year. Your oil burner should be serviced, your gas burner should be serviced, your equipment to make sure. And certainly a wood stove, if you use it every day in the winter, at the end of the season or before the beginning of the season, it should be checked by a qualified professional and cleaned and serviced. And particularly the inside of the chimney lining should be inspected to make sure that there are no cracks or missing mortar joints and things like that, particularly if it's an older home.
I noticed in replacing a smoke alarm recently, both at Lowe's and Home Depot, that I noticed they have the two kinds, as you were mentioning, Chief Flannery. They have the kind that's interconnected, which is great. So when one alarm goes off, they go off in tandem. But the other thing is that at the time that we purchased our place, which was about 17 years ago, there were a lot of them, a lot of the places around the house where they were, and I was constantly replacing the batteries, year after year after year. But now they sell them with 10-year batteries, and
Technology has changed.
technology's changed. And you're spending some money, but on the other hand, you're getting 10 years life out of it.
Right.
And it really, really makes sense to me.
Yeah, the downside is you have to remember for 10 years to change it in 10 years.
It will tell you. It will
Yeah.
tell you. It'll start giving you a chirping,
Yeah.
and it will remind you. But
That's
the technology definitely has changed and improved greatly for home smoke detection. But please remember also that carbon monoxide detection is very important in the home as well.
Right.
So I have some questions about fire extinguishers.
Sure.
there are different kinds for different fires, and I mean, I have a fire extinguisher that's been in my home for 20 years.
Okay.
Do they last forever? Probably
No,
not.
No. First of all, if it has a gauge, as long as the needle is in the green zone, it's got a charge in it, and the content doesn't go bad for an ABC fire extinguisher, one that would do, wood and plastic and electrical fire, a dry chemical. The fire extinguishers that are larger, a 5-pound, you have a 2-pound, 5-pound, 10-pound, 20-pound, like in the building we're in the town hall, need to be serviced annually to make sure that they are up to the proper pressure. Home fire extinguishers are smaller, and they're usually, you can get probably a 10-year life out of them, and then they should be replaced.
Okay.
Okay.
Well-
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And before we let you go, since if people don't know, you'll be retiring at the end of this year, and you've been fire chief for I don't know how long.
16 years. I'm finishing my 16th year.
Well, on behalf of everyone here and probably all of Carlisle, I'd like to thank you for all the service you've given to the town.
Thank you.
How long, yeah, you stole my thunder. I was gonna do the same thing, Jerry. How long have you been on the force in total?
That was asked of me the other day, and I went back, and actually I began as an extra, which was an auxiliary back then in Walter Wilson's day. Chief Wilson was 1968.
Wow. Okay, so we're going back 50 years now.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
He's only 39.
People think I was Chief Coning's deputy chief for 24 years before assuming the chief's role. So that's 40 years in that, and 10 years before that.
We've been
Well,
very
don't be a
lucky.
stranger.
I won't be.
Yeah. Come to our programs. Thank you for your plugging of the Tai Chi program and other programs. And you've always been a great supporter and partner of the Council on Aging. And I know that Angela and myself and others have relied upon you and your fellow officers for help and assistance over the years.
Yeah, the last remark I'll say is that, the firefighters and EMTs are here to service our community, but particularly seniors and their needs. We provide a lot to the youth of our community, and I really feel that we need to provide as much as we can to our seniors and supporting them in their homes, being safe as long as they're able. That's our mission.
Thank you.
Thanks
Welcome.
again, Dave.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Shall we jump into some of our programs here?
Head first.
All right. I'm going to start by talking about transportation again real quick, just so people know, because we're entering the talking about safety, we're entering the winter months. And so we have a winter weather, snow, van, and class policy. So and Angela's mentioned it from time to time before, but if the Carlisle Public Schools are canceled, and David also works at the Carlisle Public Schools, he's a multitasker, all events and rides will be canceled. Even if Town Hall is open, that will be the case. If Carlisle Public Schools are canceled, all events and rides will be canceled. If the Carlisle Public Schools are delayed, all events and rides before 10 will likely be canceled. It's best to call us to find out the status. If we can have a program and still provide transportation, then we will. But I think we'll, generally we'll err on the side of safety, and just as the schools would do the same thing. So if there's a delay and the snowfall is not that great or what have you, it's still possible, but best to check with us. So thank you about that. Also, we've got a couple upcoming programs coming up, and as Angela mentioned to me, we want to focus on the January and early February events. We've got a play called The Curious Savage, which is a senior dress rehearsal produced by the Theater 3 Company in West Acton, and it sounds like an interesting thing. It's in the description is in the newsletter on page 3. So I'm not going to read it because it's a little bit involved.
It's certainly an interesting title.
Yes, The Curious Savage, and it looks like a little bit of a mystery. But the fee is only $5. So, you know, we're the beneficiary of these dress rehearsals sometimes, where the theater companies, you know, give us the benefit, and we go when we watch them as they're ironing out the kinks. Similarly, the Concord Players have a senior dress rehearsal of the Country House, and that one is in February. So the Curious Savage I was just mentioning is on Wednesday, January 16th. I guess it would be good to mention the date, at 7:30 p.m. The Concord Players Senior Dress Rehearsal of the Country House is on Thursday, February 7th at 8 p.m., and that is also $5 at the door, and that one's at 51 Walden Street in Concord. We also have a trip Monday, February 4th to the Atlantic Sea Grill restaurant. And I feel sad in a little bit of a way, because Joanne Willen used to take people on these trips and coordinate them. And Joanne has moved out of Carlisle, and we're going to miss her. But we don't want things, and I don't think that she would want things to totally fall apart without her. So we are going to be doing trips to various restaurants in and around, not just in and around Carlisle, because it was just in Carlisle, it would be Ferns.
Right.
But, outside of Carlisle to neighboring towns. And this one is going to be on Monday, February 4th. And call the COA at 978-371-6690 to register by Monday, January 28th, if you are interested in going. And we hope that you'll be able to join us.
And if somebody is really anxious to replace Joanne as our travel guru, they could call us at the COA or Debbie Farrow and let us know, and would be thrilled. We're right now looking at using several people
What
to
what are
do
the qualifications to be a travel guru?
somebody that's good at organizing things and willing to take charge to make sure we don't lose anybody at an event, and somebody who would like to work with our office.
And benefits include free lunch up to $15. We'll reimburse your lunch. And if you're driving, sometimes we'll pay for mileage, although we're providing transportation. And generally, the transportation, I should mention, on most of these trips leaves from 2 locations, Village Court and Congregational Church. So you have an opportunity, for example, this trip to the Atlantic Sea Grill will leave Village Court at 11 a.m. and Congregational Church at 11:15 a.m. And the estimated return is between 2 and 3 p.m. And that's pretty typical for our trips, but each trip is a little bit different. But yes, as Angela mentioned, if there's anybody who's interested in volunteering, then we always appreciate the help.
Excellent. So we're going to also be feeding people. We like to do that. And we have our Chelmsford Crossing lunch. It will be hosted by St. Irene's on January 3rd. And after the lunch, we're going to have the Concord Players doing some programs for us, and they usually are very good for a laugh. And we'll have our coffee on January 7th, our men's breakfast on January 10th, and senior moments at Ferns on January 14th. And we, last week for Senior Moments, took over the whole of Ferns. There were so many people there.
Wow.
So it turns out that a lot of people like to get together, chat, have a piece of pastry, and get a cup of coffee. So it's nice. It's every other Monday, the 2nd and 4th Mondays of the month. And January will be our yearly bingo. And if people have things that they've gotten for Christmas that really aren't things that they want, but they don't know what to do with it, they can bring it in early in January and give it to us, and we'll put it in one of our bingo prizes.
Is this a way of getting rid of ugly Christmas sweaters?
Usually we don't get sweaters. It's usually more little trinkets or bottles of wine or nuts or something that maybe you didn't like, although you can open it first. And then our social hour is at Benfield, and that's January 14th. So maybe you're getting tired of being in fighting the cold, and you'd like to get out and talk to some people. Jean Coombs is hosting that for us. She always has some nice refreshment, and there's a lot of interesting conversation. We also go to Neshoba Tech once a month, and in January it's on the 9th, and that will that's really gotten very well attended. Last month we had 35 people, and the most the restaurant can hold is 40. So if you're interested in going, sign up soon, because we could hit the limit.
Many things to get us out of the doldrums.
Well, we try. So David, before we go on to some of the other programs, do you want to talk about the exercises?
Yeah, since David Flannery teed this up for us, this is a great opportunity. Basically, the message is that the Council on Aging has exercise programs every day of the week, depending on what you want to do or what your schedule is. You may want to check them out. And I should mention, as Angela reminds me, that all of our programs you can try for free. You know, we're not going to take your money and keep it if you're not going to like it. So come try a class. You know, maybe you'll like it, and if you don't, that's totally fine. The classes, so are different classes on different days of the week. So on Mondays we have a tap dancing class, and I think it's fair to say that tap dancing doesn't attract everybody, but the people that like it really like it.
They do.
Yeah, and that one is held at FRS, and you'll notice that we have various locations. The tap dancing class is at FRS. It begins at 1:30. No experience or partner needed. The instructor is Katrina Rotondi, and for people who have taken Katrina's classes, they know she's very patient and helpful, and she's a great instructor. On Tuesdays, we've got two classes. We've got a morning class. It's a Zumba Gold class, also taught by Katrina, and that's at St. Irene's. Tuesdays are St. Irene's Day. And in the afternoon, it's the Tai Chi class that David was referring to, and that one is at 12:30. That's taught by Linda Sango. Most of these classes cost $40 for a 3-month period. So we don't necessarily guarantee a certain number of classes. It's usually 10, but it could be more. And we do try to reschedule classes, but you know that it's a possibility that you know a class might be missed because of inclement weather or sickness or what have you.
So I'm curious
Vacation.
about the tap class. Do you need to have your own tap shoes, or?
It's helpful.
Most people do. We do have one extra pair of somebody that started tap and then decided it wasn't for them. So we have a woman's size 8. So if there's somebody out there
That
that
won't fit me.
wants to do tap and doesn't have a pair of shoes, we have the shoes. So come try it.
Do you have bowling shoes, Jerry? Maybe that would work.
I don't think so.
No, okay. Going back to the exercise classes on Wednesdays, we have a yoga class, Hatha Yoga it's called, and that's at Benfield. So as you'll notice, we're kind of making rounds around town. That's at 9:30 in the morning. That's through the Recreation Department, and occasionally the Recreation Department and COA will team up on programs, because there's no reason why we should be stealing thunder from one another, and the Recreation Department does a wonderful job. So if you're interested in the morning yoga class at Benfield, please contact the Recreation Department at 978-369-9815. Holly Mansfield is the Director of Recreation. And in the afternoon, there's back at St. Irene's, there's a line dancing class at 1:45 in the afternoon. On Thursdays, we're here at Town Hall, usually. And their two classes are right here in the Clark Room, where we're filming this, we're recording this program. There's a fitness class at 9:45 a.m., and then there's a cardio boost class at 10:45 a.m., both taught by Katrina, and some people take both classes, right?
Right.
So
They go from one to the next.
Right, exactly. So you have an hour-long class and then another hour-long class. So depending on how fit you are or how intrepid you want to be, you could do one or the other or both. On Fridays, we have a class which is really kind of unique to the area. It's called SAMA, which is an acronym for Senior Approach to Martial Arts. Angela takes that class.
It's actually to maintaining agility.
Oh, I'm sorry. Senior Approach to Maintaining Agility. the name changed a couple years ago. I'm living
The
the past.
program changed.
The program changed as well, so we have a different focus. But it does fit in very well with what David was saying, because the focus is really on maintaining balance, strength and flexibility.
Yeah.
Exactly. All things, I know that I wish actually I was able to take it, because it's really a helpful class. And it's a unique class.
It
The
is.
teacher, Sensei Sarah Hanley, does a wonderful, wonderful job. Second generation teaching in the class. Her father started off teaching the class. And David also mentioned the podiatry clinics that we have. They're held at Benfield Farms, and one of the reasons, besides it being one of the senior living places in Carlisle, is that there's actually an examination room which affords some privacy for the instructor, for the podiatrist, and she does a wonderful job. And the podiatry clinics are subsidized. The cost to the individual is $25. But the podiatrist charges us $35, and $10 of it is subsidized by the Friends of the Council on Aging. I guess we're getting really tight toward the end of the program. We only have a few minutes left, so with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Angela to make sure that we cover what's
Okay.
absolutely necessary.
I want to hit that we have community conversations once a month during the school year, and in January we have Concord Park is bringing a chef, and he's going to teach us about brain healthy cooking, and we also get samples. So if you don't like cooking for a small number, it's focused on how to cook for one. And that will be on January 15th at 1:30. All of these do require pre-registration. In February, we're going to have Bob Supnick tell us how not to get scammed with our computers. We also want to remind people we have 2 knitting programs. One is on the 1st and 3rd Friday, at the Gleason Public Library, and then once a month on the 3rd Thursday, at night at 7:30 is Knitting and Service, where we knit for the homeless in Boston. We have a meditation group on Mondays at 1 o'clock at Benfield Farm, and they love it so much they even meet when there's a holiday on Monday. And if you've never done meditation, give us a call, and there's a special program to get you up on how to meditate, because they do it as a group. We also have a book group on Monday, January 7th, and we're starting a new senior poetry program
With Patty Rousseau.
with Patty Russo, and it's going to be once a month, and the first one's January 23rd, and we do still have a few slots open, so if you'd like to learn how to write poetry, please give us a call.
And for those who don't know, Patty just does an absolutely wonderful job. People that do her poetry programs usually love them.
We have Reiki now. Elizabeth Bajowski is offering Reiki once a month on January 28th at Benfield Farm. We're still looking for more people who want to get Senior Charlie cards, so if you think you are 65 and you don't have one, please give us a call. We need to get a minimum number to hold the event. The community chorus that is at the school will be playing on January 15th, so we'd like to support them and remind people, if you live alone, you probably want to make sure that you sign up for our Are You OK program. So, David, anything you want to hit before we leave?
I think we only have a couple seconds left, but I also wanted to mention, particularly since David is here, we have an outside walking group and an inside walking group. The inside walking group is the Carlisle School Gym, and we're asked to call the facilities department at 978-371-2297 after 4 p.m. the day before that you would like to walk.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to wrap things up by thanking Chief Flannery for a wonderful presentation. I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday and best wishes for the coming new year. Be sure to join us in January when our guest will be our new community nurse. So I guess that's it for us. Join us next month.